I'm recording on my own computer now. I'll make this available to other people. Good evening. My name is Matthew. We're going to talk about Basecamp managers. I don't know how. I hope all of you are staying healthy and well, and you and those you care about are thriving, if possible, in the pandemic. I know for me, one thing I do enjoy is sports, and sports has definitely changed. So I don't know if any of you have changed the ability to look at sports. You're relieved that sports is not dominating conversations among people that used to, or you are missing participating in sports. I don't know. I know for me, there was an impact. I was unable, because of the pandemic, to defend my Ontario championship in the steeplechase, 2,000-meter steeplechase. The good news is the last time I did that race, I couldn't walk for 3 days. So I had a good excuse to stay healthy and out of pain because they canceled the Ontario and Canadian championships. The bad news is they also canceled the World Championships, which were going to be held here in Toronto, and we lost them. They won't be here. They're moving to another country next year. We were going to hold the World Championship of track and field for people 35 years and older. And unfortunately, it was canceled. We have another attendee.
Oh, she's from my club, Deer Park.
Oh, cool.
That's the Masters, right, Matthew?
It's called Masters Athletics. Yes, we have some. We in Toronto and Ontario has several people who set world records. There's this particular woman, Carla DeGrand, has about 8 or 9 world records. She just started running when she was in her 50s, and she is now setting 65 and 70-year-old world records every few years. Very cool. The other thing about that, the reason I want to talk about sports is people who, like you, coach in some sports are called coaches. In baseball, if you followed at all, the Toronto Blue Jays, they have a manager. We have the manager of the Toronto Blue Jays. So is he a manager, or is he a coach, or is he both? So what's a Basecamp manager? And I would say, personally, from my view, if you have been or will ever be a vice president of education, you might say, you know what, really, I'm a manager of my club education program. I'm not a VP. Okay, I like the idea of being a VP, but I wouldn't be surprised if Toastmaster changes those titles to make you education program manager, because that's really what you do. But when we go into Basecamp, you're not really managing Basecamp. I would say the right title for this role, and I don't care if they change it, is Basecamp administrator. Because what you're going to do in there is not manage Basecamp. You're going to administrate and do a few key functions and have access to administrative reports. So we're going to call it Basecamp manager, but I'd say what you're really doing is using the Basecamp administrative function to support your role managing the club education program. And not only you, but the president of the club and the person in the role as secretary have the exact same authorities that you do in Basecamp. So if you would like to be a Basecamp manager, you need to get elected in your club as either president, vice president education, or secretary. Why I'm here and why I might be the good guy to give this presentation, I have been a Basecamp manager longer than anyone else, with the possible exception of a few people in California and possibly a few people in Washington, D.C. Because when Pathways rolled out in early 2017, I joined a club remotely in Washington, D.C. and was elected secretary. So I could learn to be Basecamp manager before it arrived in District 60, so I would be able to do this training and other Pathways training. So I've been a Basecamp manager coming up on 3 years now. So I've seen Basecamp, which has hardly changed. Basecamp manager has added 1 report, and Basecamp has had a few changes. So I've seen it and I'm pretty well versed in it. And we're going to start now. I'm going to go ahead and share the screen. You can feel free at any time to unmute and ask a question, make a comment, or share another joke if you want. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to click present. I'm going to hope it takes over most of the screen. So we're going to say I'm Matthew. We're going to try to learn you Basecamp Manager in Pathways Basecamp. I can tell you another diversion that I started training and being a lecturer and trainer in the early 1980s. And one person I worked for over in Kuwait was a good old Southern boy from Alabama. And when I would do training for the Kuwait Air Force, he would say, I need you to train them on this. And I would do a lot of training, and he didn't really care what happened. And every once in a while, he would say, I need you to learn them this. And when he said, I need you to learn them this, he meant make sure that they learn what's in the training. So I'm hoping tonight that you're actually learning Toastmasters Basecamp, not just being trained in it. Here we go. Let's look at Basecamp. And Basecamp is accessible through the Toastmasters website, the same way that we access everything in Toastmasters. Log in, and when you log in, up at the top, it'll say, welcome Matthew, if you're lucky enough to be named Matthew. If not, it'll say your name in yellow, and that's at the top circle. Once you click on your first name that you've told Toastmasters, you will go to a profile page, or you can click on the Pathways menu item beside About there and pull this down and see Go to Basecamp. And you will have at the bottom in the center tile, log in as Basecamp Manager. This will be available to you if you are Vice President, Education, President, or Secretary of any club. If you are a member of more than one club, you will be able to pick the club that you're doing that for. Once you click on log in as Basecamp Manager, you will see this page with 3 blue tiles and a welcome that says as Vice President Education. Now, as we discussed, you could be the club president or the secretary, not the Vice President Education, but you will see this page and you have the same authorities as the Vice President Education in Basecamp. So we're going to talk about all those 3 tiles and everything in them in this learning session. The first thing is manager tutorials. I want to just mention, you can come in here. If you can get here and access these tutorials as a Basecamp manager, you can be led through step by step everything to do. And I've used those to create a lot of the slides tonight. What I would say is if you click tutorials in Basecamp, you see all of these learning tiles that are in Toastmasters Basecamp. Paths completed in printed materials applies to virtually no one. Not no one. 1 out of every 200 to 300 members does a Basecamp Pathways path in print. That means they have paid an extra $20 for their path and they get printed materials. It also means they only can pick 5 or 6 of, I think it's 5 of the 11 paths. It also means they have no choice of their electives in level 3, 4, and 5. Those electives are pre-selected and they are identical no matter which path you pick. But some people need printed materials because of vision or other limitations, or they just prefer them. We will address that and go through it, although most likely you will never deal with printed path administration. This tutorial is out of date. When you go in there, it will show you 5 items, but there are really 6. And Basecamp Manager Overview, I just had to put it up here. You'll see this is the kind of screen you will see if you click on Basecamp Manager Overview, take me through the tutorials. You will then see all of these links to specific training. If you are a Basecamp manager, you can go into Basecamp, go to Basecamp Manager training and watch videos and walkthroughs of all of these functions. Level completions are probably the number one thing that you need to know about as a Basecamp manager. Members in your club cannot complete a path unless they have completed all 5 levels. Those level completions must be approved by a Basecamp manager. And then the members, after they've completed the levels, and you or another Basecamp manager has approved each of the 5 levels, they can submit a path completion, which you need to approve. And with those 6 completions, they will have completed the path. You can complete levels in any order. You can complete level 5 before you complete level 1. That was a change in Basecamp about a year ago when people wished that they could see what was coming. And they opened up Basecamp that you must do the icebreaker first. Then you can do any project in any level. You can complete levels. You can complete level 4, then number 2, then number 3. And each of those level completions can be approved by you. The ordering becomes important when you submit awards in Club Central. If a member completes level 3 in Basecamp, you cannot award them level 3 on Club Central and Toastmasters. The Club Central awards must be completed in order: level 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. In Club Central, completely separate from Basecamp. Basecamp does not communicate with Toastmasters for awards. If you complete a level and approve it in Basecamp, it does not get someone a Toastmasters award. It gets them a certificate in Basecamp, but it does not get them an award. It does not contribute to the club Distinguished Club Program educational goals. Submitting the award on the Toastmasters website in Club Central is the only thing that gets people awards from Toastmasters and clubs credit for DCP. But here you have these 4 functions that you will do for level completions. 3 functions. You will actually complete the levels that members claim to have completed. You will approve them. And then you can see and print or download their certificates if you would like to present them. So the 3 things that you do as a Basecamp manager is deal with level completion approval requests, external training requests, and you can do progress reports viewing. Those are the 3 things we're going to talk about tonight. Let me just say, external training approvals are 100% optional. Doesn't matter if users do them. Doesn't matter if you approve them. It's simply a courtesy and a way for you to communicate with members who may be in more than one club or who may be doing speeches outside of Toastmasters. For example, this could be a speech, and I could ask Bruce to do an evaluation of my presentation for a project and a path, and I could get credit for it as a Toastmasters project because he's a Toastmaster. So if a Toastmaster views my presentation and does an evaluation, it counts. We're not in a club meeting. And if this was being done about how to run the steeplechase, and I had a Toastmaster in the audience, they could evaluate my how to run a steeplechase presentation, give me an evaluation, and I could get credit for that as a Basecamp Pathways project. That would be an external training. If my VP Ed said, "You talking about steeplechase and you want credit?" And I'll say, "Yeah, here, if you want to see, here's the evaluation form I got, or here's the recording. If you ever want to run the steeplechase, I recommend you watch the recording." But the fact is, we're allowed to do any Pathways project outside of our home club, outside of any club, or outside of Toastmasters. We can do them at work, but a Toastmaster needs to witness, supposedly live, the project and give an evaluation. The third thing is unique to you, member progress reporting, and we're going to go through that. Now this says conclusion. This will be the last slide, but it's also the introduction slide of what we're going to talk about. Best Basecamp Manager practices are for you to check for level completion requests regularly so that your members aren't waiting to get their levels approved once they've completed them. You are supposed to get an email every time a member requests a level completion. The email goes to the email address that your club has put in Club Central as the club email address. If you want to get the level completion request emails, you need to make sure that the club email address that people see on Find a Club goes to you. If the club has your club email address going to the president or the VP membership or someone else, then you will not get the level completion request emails from Basecamp. Basecamp collects those and uses those to email the Basecamp managers. It doesn't send them directly to you. Second thing is to discuss the external training request system with your members. Members may hear, what about external training? What is this? We're going to explain it tonight, and I recommend that you take 3 minutes and do a briefing in your club every 6 months or so to explain the external training request system. For most people, they don't care. They're going to say, I do my speeches in Toastmasters, or it's optional. I'll just tell you if I'm doing a speech outside. And the third is for you to explore and understand the member progress reports in Basecamp and figure out if they're useful for you. And if they are, make use of them. So we're going to start with level completions. You're going to click Login as Basecamp Manager and see these 3 tiles. We already discussed Manage Tutorials. We're going to now click on Pending Requests. And in Pending Requests, there are 2 kinds of requests you could see: level completions and external training. When a member completes a level, you should approve their level completion. You might also print their completion certificate that they've earned. When you click on Pending Approval tile, you will see this page, Training Pending Approvals, if there are any. And if there are any, it will look basically like this. So just have a look and you'll see what I've circled. Training Pending Approval will tell you that's the kind of pending request. There will also be external training requests we'll deal with. But over on the far right, you'll see a green check mark and you'll see an X. There are 2, and if you do not doubt that this person has completed the level, click on the green check mark. If they did it by accident, click on the red X. Sometimes members will accidentally close projects and complete a level that they really didn't do. It happens. So if you get a level completion request that is very surprising, perhaps from a brand new member that just did their icebreaker, you might call them up and say, did you accidentally request a level completion? I'm going to cancel it. And then you submit it again when it's really been done. Is that clear? Any questions? Click on member request. They'll come every time a member completes 3 or sometimes 2 projects, because some levels have 2 projects, some have 3, some have 4 speeches. Level 1 has 4 speeches and an evaluation to complete level 1. You will see level completions. You will also see the member's name and a little file folder. If you click on that member's name, you can see the transcript that the member has done all the projects. If you click, I will go to that. If you click on the green X, you will see this screen, the green check mark. In the green check mark, you will get an approval request submission screen. You can enter optional comments or nothing. You can say, I approved it so the other Basecamp managers know who did it. They can see it. And you must click the submit button. It's a two-step process. Green check mark, submit button. Optionally, you can say congratulations, you are the first one or the 20th one, or I'm amazed, or I'm not surprised. Whatever you want to type in there and click the submit button. Now, once the member has completed the level and you have approved it, they can go to their own certificate and print it, frame it, put it on a billboard on the 401 or whatever they want. You can also do those same things. And here's how you get to see any level certificate for any member in your club. You're going to search for the member. Up in the top right, there's a little search box. You start typing a first name of a member. And if I'm in Xander's club and I put ZAN, his name will appear and I will select him. Then his profile will appear on the screen. I will see a link to transcript. Then it will take me to a page where I can open his curriculum. Then I can view the details. Then I can click on view details. Then I can click on view training details. And then I can click on view certificate. These 8 steps are what I'm going to show you now. Search for a member, start typing, and I type MAR. There's a sample member called Martin. I click on Martin's name and I click on transcript or open transcript. And I click on that link transcript in the left. Then I click on details of which level. Actually, I have to pick which level. Under the details, under the path, any level with a check mark is complete. It'll also say 100%. So that means Martin has completed both level 1 and level 2 in motivational strategy, and they have been approved by a Basecamp manager. Now that those are approved finished levels, we can look at the details of the transcript. And in those details, some of them will say level completion. Here, I've circled the training details of all the things that Martin has completed. One of them is a level 2 completion for a path. When I click on the view training details button or pull it down, then I will finally get how many hours and minutes were spent on the completion. 0. If you look at another project, you will see how many hours and minutes Martin spent on that project. The completion, he just spent a few seconds, so there's no time. And you will see certificate, print certificate. When you click on that, there it is. You can download it, you can print it. Every certificate for every level, for every member in your club, including your own, can be found that way. Again, there you go. Take a screenshot or you'll get the link to this. Search for a member and do all those things and you will get to certificates. So it's very easy to approve a level. Log in as Basecamp manager, click on pending requests, click on the green check mark and click submit. Printing certificates, a lot more clicks, but you know how to do it. And once you go into Basecamp, if you're a Basecamp manager, go have a look at each member and see if any of them have certificates. Level completions for a print path. Less than 0.5% of members pay an extra $20 for a path and do it in print. But you might be one of those Basecamp managers one day that has to help a member with a print path. What you do is validate every single project, not just levels. And then there's a special process to validate the level. I'm not going to spend much time on it. I just want you to be aware that there is a process. For a print path, you will use this step to validate the projects: icebreaker, research, every single project, you will use this step. You will go into the print path, and you'll notice under presentation mastery, it says print. This member is doing a print path. They cannot use online Basecamp. You can go in, pick view details, view checklist. This button only appears for print path. Once you go there, you will mark it completed, and it will change the status to a nice green bar, 100% completed. And you will click the save button, and you will validate every project, validate every level. And here's how you do a level. After you have completed every project in a print path, there will be a new button, view checklist for level completion. Guess what? You view the checklist, you mark it complete, you click the save button, and you're done. 0.5%. So you probably don't have to worry too much of that, but there's the steps that you do, and that is how you print their certificate. Since they cannot get to Basecamp to print their own certificate, you're going to use that same process. But when you view the checklist, there's a special tab called the Attachments tab. In the Attachments tab for everyone, print or not, members can upload things. If your member would like to upload worksheets or evaluation forms, they can upload them in their own transcript and you could see them. External, is that clear? So that's your main job. Approve levels. Has anyone approved a level? Has anyone ever done this? Bruce has done it. Yeah, so we've got a couple people who have done it. That's your most important job. If you learn nothing else, learn that you need to approve levels, and you will get an email if the club email address comes to you. If not, you can log in as Basecamp manager, click on pending approvals and approve them. You can do that anytime. The next thing is externals training. It's for people who are doing speeches outside your club, members that are in your club but might be in a second club, or outside of Toastmasters completely. It's optional. They can request an external project that you approve them requesting, and when they complete it, they will request approval of completion, which you can do. It's all courtesy, it's all optional, but here's the process. People request to complete a speech outside their home club. It creates an initial external training request, which you approve, and then they submit an external training request completion approval request, which you approve. If you want to do all that record keeping, you can take the dashboard tutorial training and it will show you what I'm going to show you. But all you have to do is look for pending requests. If there is one, it will say registered, and you mark it complete, and it will be status pending. Well, that's what they do. Your member will do this. They will submit a registered request and it will say mark complete. It will just stay there. You will have a pending completion approval. That's what will be there. When they do that, the status will say pending completion approval. You will come into project completion and mark it complete. When you mark it complete, the status in the pull down will say completed. Up in the left corner, blue circle, completed. In everyone's transcript, all of the pathways materials are broken into sections: active, archived, completed. So if you're saying, where's my path? I can't see it anymore. You may have archived it, You may have completed it. It may not be active. So it's important to, anytime you see that left-hand pull down that says active or completed or archived, know that there are other choices with that little down arrow to see archived or active projects and paths, not just completed ones. When you go into the approval history, there's a lot of detail. This is what's in the approval history. It's kept in Basecamp. Attachments could be a video or an evaluation form that they want as proof, or just they like to keep records of everything they did. So there's the approval history. And that's what you get to when you say view transcript in external training. So there's a lot of information there. It's all optional. Not a lot of people use it, but it is there. Approving external training, pending request. Instead of saying pending level completion, you might see training pending approval. And you will see training. And you will see the type is initial request. After you approve it, you can click on the folder to see other details. Once you click on the approval check, it will change. You can look at details and see which project. You might notice here, I can't tell which pathway or which project this request is for. When I click on that folder inside the blue circle that says details in folder, when I click on that, then I can tell which path and which project is this external training being applied for. The successful collaboration project in the team collaboration path. That's what's being applied for. Then I can click the green check mark and click the submit button, just like I do for level completion requests. And all of this is optional. Once you do it, you'll get, that person will approve, will complete the training and request completion approval. The first time it said initial, let's go back. It will say initial request in the rightmost blue circle. After they've done it, it will be a completion request. You click the green check mark, submit, and everything's nice and tidy and all the records are in pathways forever, as long as that person is ever a member or becomes a member again. All right. So if you change your home club as a dual member, results are unreliable and inconsistent. The home club vice president of education or Basecamp managers may no longer see your requests for either level approvals or external training. When you request a level approval request, make sure you tell the home club Basecamp managers to hurry up and approve it, because if you log into another club, most likely that request will not appear in your home club. It will appear in the other club. And then when you log back in, it's supposed to switch. We have reports that occasionally there's a delay and no one can see it for hours. So dual members, be aware, switching your home club login may change the availability of the approval request. Now, if you're a VP Ed and you complete a level, put your hand up if you think you can approve your own level completion. I do, because it's true. A Basecamp manager can approve their own level completion because, frankly, it doesn't affect the club distinguished club program. It's still impossible for you to submit your own educational award on Club Central. You cannot submit your own educational award on Club Central, but you can complete and approve your own levels in Basecamp. The reason I think they did this is some clubs only have the Basecamp manager use Basecamp. The president and secretary don't use it. So if that's the case, who would ever approve the Basecamp manager levels except the Basecamp manager? So It's okay with me if you approve your own levels. If you feel better saying, oh, I need proof, I need someone else to do it, ask them to do it. If they don't do it for a few days, I have a feeling you're going to go in and do your own anyhow. I would. All right, so now we're going to go to progress tracking. We've now covered the tutorials. There's a tile with a whole bunch of training, and we've covered pending requests. External training is very involved, but it is optional. Pending requests for level completions are vital, and you need to learn that. You, as a Basecamp manager, will approve level completions. You might also want to print certificates, and there is that 8-step screen that you can follow, or the tutorial for how to print a certificate for yourself or any member. Now we're going to look at the extensive reporting that is available to Basecamp managers in Pathways Basecamp. Here's some tutorial screens, and this is the kind of thing you'll see when you look at training for member progress tutorials. I'll let you just have a look at, these are just snapshots, screenshots of the tutorial screens for member progress tracking. So you can look at this. If you look at this, you'll see that there are 5 different reports. The tutorial is out of date. There are 6. External training dashboard is of virtually no use. I don't know anybody who uses it. Some of the other reports, there are 5 other reports, are time limited. Some only show you the last 30 days and then they're gone. Some only show you the last 90 days and then they are gone. Some show you all history of all time. We'll take a look at them now. Tracking progress actually has 6 listed now. There they are. And we're going to go through these 6 in order. Individual progress, and you can see the other ones. We're going to go through those. They're kind of interesting, and you can ask questions, or we can spend more or less time on any that you need to see. The first one is individual progress that you can see for any member who's logged in with your club as a home club. Now be aware, if you have a member who is in more than one club, and today they logged into the other club as their home club, you will not see them again until they log into your club. So the member decides, if the dual member decides which club can see their progress. They do that by logging into Basecamp and selecting which of their clubs they are active in. And it remains until they switch clubs again. But let's just go in and say, let's go in and see individual progress. If we do this, the key thing that you need to do on every Basecamp report is in the top right corner, the little pull down gray arrow. You must click on it and pick the refresh link circled in red. If you do not do that, your reports will be blank or out of date. Guaranteed. You must refresh every time you log in, unless you just were logged in within the last 20 minutes. So you have 3 choices: export the data to Excel, view the details, or refresh. So absolutely refresh. And when you do, these bars will appear for each level. There are 5 boxes, level 1 through 5. And for each level, there will be projects that are listed. So level 1 in every path has 3 projects. In level 1, there will be 3 paths listed if anyone has in your club done any of them. Now you can see that some bars are longer because more members have done this particular project in this example. So to see all members, you can read there across the top. How do I see all members? First I refresh, then I hover over one of the bars. It says hover over a box, but it's really a bar, and then select view details. And here's what you'll see in level 3. So I hovered over the bar and then I clicked on view details. Every project in level 3 that a member has opened is listed here. Level 3 has a lot of electives, and it has different requirements for each path, different required projects for most paths. So we're going to see all of the projects that any member has opened. And inside that project, you can view details further. So you're going to open a level, hover over a bar, and click on view details if you would like to see this. Now here's one for level 2, pretty detailed. I've blurred out member names in my club. I took this example from for their privacy, but you can see which projects in level 2 are completed or in progress and when they were done. And each member has their member name and member number listed there. Okay, so open a report, put your mouse over the bar, click on details, and you can of course print or download this data. So what we're going to do now is march through the reports, and I'm going to comment on whether I think they're useful. You can have a different opinion or we can discuss them. Any questions now? Okay, here we go. If in the top right hand pull down, you click on show labels, the report becomes a little bit more informative. If I click on the top left hand corner gray pull down and click on show labels, all the bars get a number. How many people, how many projects, evaluation and feedback, how many members are working. It might not be members because you might have a particular member who has more than one path, but it will show you how many members path combinations are in progress for each project. So I can tell that 12, 13 icebreakers and 12 of those are either completed or in progress. All right, level completions. So you're going to go to member progress reports, look at individual progress if you want to see state of the nation in all 5 levels, every single project, all the details, who they are, when they did it. Level completions up to the past 90 days. And a reminder that no one gets credit for a level completion in the Club DCP or Educational Award history unless you submit it in Club Central. You do not have to submit it within 90 days for credit, but it will not appear in this report after 91 days. No records found in this report. I wonder why. We didn't push the refresh button. If we push the refresh button, yes, there are some levels completed recently. We push individual names in the level completion. It is by member. And when I hover the bar, I'll see that I've completed 4 different levels in the last 90 days. And I can click on view details. And if I want, there is another option. There's another report in subset 2 level completions. There is a report, a second report, which is levels completed in print. That's for the less than 0.5%. No one in my club is doing them, so there's no one here. But if there were, you would click refresh and you would see who in your club has completed levels in print. It also has view details for level completions. And here is all of the level completion details for all the members in the club with the completion date and who did them and what level was completed. So I've completed 2 level 3s, even though I haven't completed level 2. In engaging humor, I haven't completed level 2, but I've completed level No, in engaging humor, I've done 2 and 5, but not 3 and 4. Oh, I've done 3 and 5, but not 2 and 4. So there's the details. And that will show you everyone in your club within the last 90 days. So it's a good idea to check this every 90 days. Path progress, we're going to look by path. And there are 4 reports inside path progress. And guess what? They're all going to say no records found until, say it with me, you click refresh. So we're going to go one by one on the 4 reports inside path progress. Status of all paths. There you are. Test your learning. What do you need to do to get the latest data? Click on refresh. How do you see more details? Hover the bar and click on view details. There are the 4 reports, just to give you an overview. We're going to zoom in on each of them. 4 reports. The first one, path type. Online or print. Guess what? Most likely, it's all going to say online. If you click on details, you will see them. But actually, I didn't go through those 3. Let me skip to 4 because 4 is almost useless. It basically just says how many people are print, how many are on path type. Recently selected, we'll go back to do the 3s. Recently selected path. Actually, I think here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at path progress, and I'm not going to go through them unless we go through them live. Status of all paths. It's just going to tell you is how many paths are selected, view details, and you can imagine which reports, what each of those reports contains. I think the most interesting one is number 2, paths registered, not yet started. This is when a member selects a path and either pays for it or selects a path that they've gotten for free, but they did not yet open the path and launch a project. That will tell you members who have counted in the club pathways adoption, but actually haven't even looked at a project. And then you can see which paths are started and which paths are done. Then we're going to go quickly. Path type, print or non-print. I don't find this of any use. Recently selected paths. This is kind of fun, but it's only 30 days. So you got to check it frequently and you'll see, hey, someone picked a path and you refresh it. External training. I don't find this one useful at all either because it's optional and you have that other way to approve training. But within recent memory, external training requests, you can also come here and see if there's pending requests. Most Basecamp managers focus on the first 3 reports. We went through the first 2, and we can go through the 3rd one live if anybody wants to see it. So 3 things that Basecamp managers need to learn. That level completion approvals are your main job, and they are what members depend on you to do as a Basecamp administrator manager. You will log on as a Basecamp manager, click on pending approvals, click on the green check mark and the submit button, and the member will then be rewarded with a completion mark and their electronic certificate for the level completed. There is another special completion that was added to Basecamp, which I didn't include. It will show up just like level completions, but it will say path completions. We went and I showed you the screen for print paths. There's a similar one for online paths. It will say path completion request. After you've completed all 5 levels, and they are all approved by a Basecamp manager, the member now gets a new button to say path complete. You must approve that, and then the path is complete. This is the one time that Toastmasters checks Basecamp. If the member completes 2 paths and applies for a Distinguished Toastmaster Award. They must have completed all 5 levels of 2 PATs in Club Central on Toastmasters website. And they must have 2 PATs approved in Basecamp. And Toastmasters headquarters staff will verify both, that 5 levels are approved on Club Central for 2 PATs, and that 2 levels have been approved by a Basecamp manager in Basecamp. That is checked, and you cannot get a DTM without those approvals in Basecamp and the 2 times 5 level awards in Club Central. That's a lot. I just said a whole bunch of big sentences in that paragraph. Is that clear? Okay. Doesn't happen that often. I mean, we only have a couple DTMs per club or per year or per couple years, and you can always get help. But know that DTM is a special case where you got to do a lot of approving and a lot of submitting of awards. External training approval, make sure your club members know it's optional. It's very powerful. It's a nice record keeping. If your club decides not to do it, that's okay. You don't have to request them. You can do it by phone, by email, by chat, or you can just skip it and trust your members who do external training. Some clubs, no one does that. Member progress reporting, it's pretty important that you know, especially what reports are available in case you're going to train the new VP Ed or the new Basecamp manager. It would be a good idea if you showed them at least those first 3 reports. So what you're going to do as a Basecamp manager is check for level completion requests regularly, because you need to do that for your members to get their level completions and their e-certificates. You're going to discuss external training request system with your members and have the club decide how you want to use it, if you want to use that optional system. And you're going to minimally explore the first 3 member progress reports on Basecamp. That is what I want you to learn in this session. So I'm going to open it up for anyone that wants to check on something. If you're a